The following video contains discussion of topics that may be considered unsavory for some viewers. I'm not going to say what those are because, to be frank, I don't want YouTube basically shadow banning me, but if you've seen this video on Twitter, then you should basically know what's up ahead. ULTRAKILLS' most recent content update gave us the glorious, the beautiful, and the brutal Layer 7 violence. A layer dedicated to portraying violence against the neighbor, violence against the self, and violence against God and nature. This layer feels incredibly fitting, with violence against the neighbor being portrayed as a never-ending war, countless bodies strewn about, violence against the self being portrayed by the trees of those who have passed by their own hands, and violence against God being portrayed by taking down the largest creature of steel that man had ever built. I could feel the tension building in this layer as I was playing it, and eventually I had succumbed to some violence of my own. Luckily not violence against the neighbor, the self, or the creator, so I'm not going to hell. No, violence against my fucking machine, because trying to P-rank these levels left me with an uncontrollable urge to yank my power cord out of the wall and projectile boost my computer out of the fucking window. These levels gave me a run for my money, and brother, I've gone broke. A lot of people were even calling me good in the first music analysis video because I was able to P-rank P2 on standard with only 75 or so hours in the game, and these levels gave me higher blood pressure faster than anything P2 could have thrown at me. That said, there are almost certainly better content creators who have made better analyses of the levels and their subsequent difficulties, so I'm just gonna stick with what I know best. Whoa, wait. I know I said I wasn't going to make another music-related video on ULTRAKILL until all of Act 3 dropped, but I just checked on the time difference between Layer 4 releasing and the rest of the act releasing, and to be honest with you, I'm not going to hold my breath for another year. Roll the tape. Also, Layer 7 spoilers ahead. Duh. It happens quick, and if you're not paying attention, you might miss it, but the entire level opens up with a blinding light and an airy pad. Somehow this level feels reminiscent of Limbo, but it's all washed out. You walk into the garden of forking paths, even though the only thing on display here are these fucking bloodstained mannequins, but this isn't about them yet. Wow, this place is spotless. It's quiet. Almost too quiet, honestly. It's empty. It's visually stunning to look at, and yet somehow it feels lifeless. This bell melody starts playing, and it's equally as pretty to listen to. It gives me chills to listen to, but it feels like I can finally breathe. It feels like a weight has been lifted off my shoulder. It feels like I can unclench my fists, unclench my jaw, and maybe relax a little bit. If you're not listening closely enough to the sinister strings in the background, this melody line almost sounds equally as clean and spotless, almost like there's nothing suspicious going on here. But of course, this is still the layer of violence, and everything from here on out is reserved only for the most heinous of sinners. In due time, exploring more of this level and getting a better feel for the music reveals just how somber the track actually sounds. It feels like there used to be life in these halls, and yet something has gone tragically wrong, and the color has faded along with it. God damn it, Marco, you've made your way into my script again. He pointed out another interesting detail about the strings in this level, which is the tremolo effect. Tremolo is typically used to elicit fear, and in this case, almost a horror movie level of fear that you might get jump scared by these damn things. The creeping bass note indicates that it's definitely not as clean and spot-free as it appears down here, before it's cut short by the bells coming back, trying to cover up whatever twisted amalgamations you may have seen over here. The world only looks white because you simply haven't gone far enough. I know that the entire point of violence is to punish sinners who have, at minimum, attempted to harm others or themselves, but everything about this track just kind of whispers to me that I am being deceived, that there's actually nothing dangerous down here. The logbook even implying that whoever wrote it derives pleasure and purpose from showing off their deformed husks due to some kind of delusion, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't be proud to show this off. I feel like I might have been one of the few people who didn't get jump scared by the mannequins running at me full force. Oh, interesting, that door... But maybe that's just because I ran in their full speed like I was gonna hit them with a bus. That jump scare sure is a great way to transition us into the poster child song of this layer though, and one of the first things I noticed with this song even before the layer fully released was the constant descending chord progressions during the chorus, which, when applied to the bass, sounds really cool. This actually continues to be a theme throughout the entire layer in varying configurations, and to say that descending chord motifs being a characteristic of layer 7 is due to your further descent into hell sounds, you know, like, yeah, no duh, but in canon, once you've surpassed layer 5, hell kind of stops becoming your playground, and the worst of the worst is about to set in. I could also easily equate these descending chords into some kind of descent into madness if anything I said above about people yearning to show off their mangled bodies to the world has any semblance of accuracy. The primary connection between The World Looks Red and The World Looks White is its constant presence of somber notes. In The World Looks White, it's cut with some sinister and evil undertones, and in The World Looks Red, the somber notes are brashly overshadowed by the really high bravado notes, almost to reflect some sort of grandiose mania, and again, the glorification of using one's own body to literally paint the world red. While a part of me wants to feel bad for these sinners who had attempted to escape the violence layer of hell through the maze, only to be cut short and shoved into mannequins, at some point the mania has set in, and the delusion has set in, and now they've kind of come to grips with the situation they found themselves in, and now they're trying to get everyone on the same train, and so you can hear that within the sort of bravado portions of the song, where now they want everyone to feel the things that they have felt. The calm version of this song, utilizing only the organ, exudes a very specific vibe, akin to that of divine punishment, almost like going to church to ask God for forgiveness for all the heinous acts you've committed, only for Him to punish you for asking for too many second chances. Banished to an existence fueled only by fear and confusion, and God deciding that the only way for you to repent is to find and escape yourself. Also, do I hear fucking order in this track? Surely there has to be some kind of significance to that, but I think I'm blanking right now.
So let's start off here, shall we? Not that Dylan already shared his brain rot before I got to it, but it's his video. He gets to go first, so I'm not going to complain. Anyway, you enter the violence layer, and oh my god, why? It's so bright. Oh god, my retinas. It's Discord light theme out here. Help. But at the same time, it's weirdly quiet. All these white, crooked crucifixes and trees, it's all a little strange. And it's probably nothing, let's just go right through the very obvious Mark Dorian. There it is. What you're hearing right now is, well, The World Looks White. Boy howdy, does it. The track starts off with these music box-like notes with this strange, almost droning sound behind it. Something ain't quite right here. It feels off, you know? Like, the Garden of Forking Paths should most definitely not be where someone should go. I mean, duh, it's literally part of the 7th layer of hell, and it's also the back rooms. So, like, I don't blame you at all for wanting to be there. At the same time, though, it feels, although, amidst the liminality and eeriness of the track, it's also inviting considering what was before. Oh god, P2. Where's there, Gabriel? Oh god. Anyway, JoJo posing mannequins besides. About halfway through, there's this chord progression that just goes up, along with a deep shift in the droning. It's really not friendly this time. It's incredibly eerie and downright a little scary at points. Something about the whole tone of this beginning section of the garden, and the music just hits all the right brain tinglies for me. But then, after you're all creeped out, it tries to, I don't know, I guess, re-comfort you with the music box, I guess, depending on how fast you're going through this level. This could go right with the mannequins just looking. And right as you're about to place the skull into the next area, Possibly my favorite track in Layer 7, and probably fucking ever. This track just defines the whole layer and reminds you exactly why you're in hell, like you didn't forget it in the first place. Now keep in mind, I had patiently waited, listened to fan remixes, waited, listened to more, and I just waited a lot. Let's just say that. Getting to hear the full version in my own video, I'm gonna shamelessly plug, go check it out right now. Right now, go, please. Also follow me on Twitch, please. It gave me a sort of completeness to the whole vibe of the level. It's just so grandiose, and the organ, oh my god, I'm such a sucker for organs. Like pipe organs, not intestinal organs. It's all wrapped up in a nice little bow of death. Just like P2, you know, except the organ isn't the main instrument this time. It's a background piece, but it just does it so well. The calm track just being an organ as well. I'm sure it has some level of significance, but I wouldn't know since the track is still so good even with just that instrument. Honestly, I wish ULTRAKILLS levels were longer so I got to hear these masterfully crafted songs by Hikita for just a little bit longer. They're just so good. And I'm sorry to the people who do P ranks. We ball. We'll make it through with longer levels, I'm sure. Anyway, the drums in this track just do so much for it as well. It gives me almost a Final Fantasy vibe with how the drums just control the backup for this song. I guess, chorus? I don't know, I haven't really studied music. Where the tempo goes up almost gives me a sense of urgency. And I guess that's a general theme for this level. Urgency, because mannequins were formed by hell from those attempting to flee their punishment and violence. As the gift of death is a rare privilege, they've become trapped in ceramic-like vessels in eternal torment. Kind of fun, right? However, I guess our sense of urgency, you know, as us being a blood-fueled robot, comes from the want of blood for fuel. It's just that simple. Thus, the Garden of Forking Paths is just an obstacle for you. The tail end of this track is just a few seconds of calm, followed by the main chorus in one final crescendo. Honestly, it's just hard to put into words, for me at least, just how good this track is. Just something about it feels so right and so appropriate. Marco Meatball said during his video of the work-in-progress version of the song that it felt malicious, and I couldn't agree more. The pure malice feel for what you're about to dive into for the rest of the layer. And right now is a great precursor and warning. The track finally bleeds out, leaving a bell that tolls, which thematically is very fitting, especially considering what we face next.
The opening to this track is kind of the only thing musically that I actually like about it. It sounds like it was made with these kind of standard train bells on some old-timey train, which is, as we say in the industry, very fitting. The real track starts playing upon the Minotaur making his full appearance, and while I can barely justify this by calling it a song, I do think it's pretty fitting for the entire situation. This track is such an assault on my hearing that it's now tied for the best noise music with It's loud, it's aggressive, it's chaotic, and it perfectly reflects the feeling of the bull, who is panicked and stranded and attempting to see the surface one final time before you ultimately slaughter it and leave its body to rot. One of the most horrifying things I can hear in this song, and maybe in any song in this soundtrack, is this ear-splitting Aztec death whistle that in a previous version of the script I thought was a guitar pick slide, which sounds an awful lot like screaming. This can either be reflective of the bull itself, or maybe the mannequins it stomped out, or maybe whatever corpses were combined together to make up its general shape. Maybe these are the screams of Minos' victims, thus connecting this godforsaken creature to Minos, and maybe settling the age-old question I had only moments ago. Also, do I hear fucking order in this track? Maybe. Or maybe I'm overthinking it, and it just sounds really cool. Who knows, really? If the Minos point kind of came out of nowhere and you don't really know what I'm talking about, the Minotaur in the wiki is basically described as a creature that was designed and sculpted for Minos by someone, he's hiding his name, in an attempt to build some kind of good relationship with him. And obviously, Minos, looking at this thing, decided, this is fucking horrible and I hate you and I never want to see this thing again, and so he banished it all the way down here for us to fucking deal with. And frankly, I don't even want to keep dealing with him. Where did you even come from? How can I leave your ass stranded on the train tracks and then you just bust through the wall like that? Take this, and that, and maybe a couple of these while you're at it. Now scram, I've got more hell to vaporize. Hey, so you remember in the last video how I was talking about how I released a song called Blood and Steel, which is my first attempt at metal breakcore stuff? Yeah, well, I made a whole album, and it's called Breaking the Fourth Wall, and it's me just making breakcore of multiple calibers and whatnot. There are, how many? 11 songs in it, only 2 of them are reused, and it encompasses a fairly large range of breakcore, I think. So I'm gonna give you a few snippets of all the songs because I love you guys like that. And if you're interested in seeing anything more, and if you're interested in seeing the extended portions of it, you can check the description for the link tree where the Spotify will be, and it should be out by the time you see it. Thank you. This is one of the few times I truly don't have anything to grasp at. I want to grasp at so much because everything about this song is beautiful and it's existential and it's terrifying. It's scary, but in a way that I can't really understand because all of the world has gone to shit. The world has ended, and yet all of man's greatest sins are on full display here, and the machines are still constantly fighting. Machines are never something I've felt bad for, but the fact that not even the lack of human influence can stop them from what they were intentionally built to do, and somehow they've made me feel bad for all these machines because they won't stop fighting. And maybe that's the entire metaphor about this song. Maybe it's all a metaphor about the never-ending war in hell. And maybe the robots are dreaming of an eternal sleep, even if it means death. These are just fictional robots in a video game. I'm at least partially portrayed as the main character, and so I've always felt like I was kind of doing what I had to, and these are merely obstacles, and they're merely a means to an end. And now, I don't know if I can really justify that. Do robots dream of eternal sleep? This song makes me want to say yes. It makes me feel strongly that I want to say yes. And then I open the doors, I wake up, I see what's in front of me, and reality finally sets in. This song has an incredible start. It's paired perfectly with the absolute atrocity you're witnessing as the gates open, and they force me to direct my attention to the music. It has strong downbeats, it's loud and in your face, and it sounds like a siren. Hagita did his job perfectly. Kudos to you. I have no choice but to hear the siren song because it's in my face and it won't settle down unless I actually play the level and kind of not just listen to the song on Spotify. Now is the time where I break the fourth wall a little bit and tell you guys that I was basically listening only to the Spotify version of this when I was writing all this script down, and the level itself does not start that in your face, although you will still be taking in the scenery and coming to the realization that V1 has been taking down something infinitely bigger than himself, and it's best portrayed at this exact moment. The entirety of this level exists in 4 different emotional states. It starts with some kind of feeling of empathy for these machines, wondering to yourself if they can be anything more than the killers that man made them into with Do Robots Dream of Eternal Sleep. You open the doors, the game slaps you in the face and makes it clear that these machines will not be deviating anytime soon. It's what they were made to do, so they're going to continue to do it. Then it sort of transitions into this kind of introspective feeling about the very character you're playing as, asking yourself if he's devoid of any kind of human emotion, and if we think he feels any type of way about everything he's doing and everything he's seeing. The game swiftly answers that question with these pitch-bending chords to fully reify that, no, V1 is no different than anything he's scrapping along the way. I haven't really talked about this yet because it hasn't been applicable until right now. This level has a lot of time signature changes. It starts in 7/4, and then it moves into 5/4 for a little bit, and then it moves into this weird switch between 11/4 and 12/4 probably. And then during its kind of introspective moment with the piano, it sticks to 3/4. And then it immediately goes back into the 11/4, 12/4 split again. And then just into 11/4, and then it repeats the whole song and dance. People talk a bunch of smack on Chaos for having too many time signatures, and maybe I've opened a can of worms here, but I don't think people have come to grips with just how many time signatures this track has. Motifs were also a thing that are kind of not talked about very much so far because they haven't really come up yet, but this is easily the most blatant version of it that I could find. Halfway through the track, I know for a fact that I can hear a Death Odyssey motif, and I don't want to hear any of you say otherwise because it says it right there in the wiki. Now, I didn't read the wiki before figuring it out. I figured it out before reading the wiki, but that's, you know, I have to specify that, otherwise people are going to think that I just read the wiki, and I promise you I'm smarter than that. As mentioned up above, I can also hear the trend of descending chord progressions once again. As the levels are reflecting deeper and deeper layers of violence, so too will the music. The music is going to get more dramatic, it's going to get more somber. Shit. If the concept of a never-ending war between man's worst creations is already super depressing, then what in the world is in store for the next 2 levels? Okay, well, I looked through my script here, and it's probably that thing that I give a content warning about at the beginning of the video. Oh. So this is what's in store, huh? The screaming for death from the foliage around me? A flashlight? Slenderman stopped being cool like 10 years ago, and I really don't want to have to revisit that. I'm just going to ignore those guys sitting in the forest, and I'm going to focus on this sign right here. You'd think that I'd focus on the feed as we will grow part because it's kind of the most obvious thing right there. This is actually a reference to the trees in Japanese folklore that feed off of the blood of fallen soldiers, which funnily enough, fallen soldiers are things that we just saw in the last level. But I also understand that this entire level is supposed to be thematically appropriate to suicide. No, I actually want to focus on the Greek text behind it that is significantly less obvious, and no, I can't read Greek, which basically tells us for the second time now that death is a rare privilege in hell. So now you can kind of see what this whole level's shtick is about. Every single one of these trees with 3D rendering are all people who took their own lives, but hell didn't let them get off that easily. With the Greek text being overtaken by the request for food, it's kind of a freebie for me to equate this to another instance of psychosis. By who? A little bit unclear, since all these suicide victims are immobilized into living statues, but either way, something wishes for blood that isn't a machine, and you should probably do that, because otherwise, you can't progress in the level. Actually, wait, hold on. Before I start killing stuff, I actually want you to hear about this, because, basically, there's this weird kind of track that's playing while you are sitting here in the darkness, feeding the tree. I tried porting it into Premiere Pro and slowing it down really, really, really slowly to see if I could hear whatever it was supposed to be. And to be frank, I couldn't really figure it out, mostly because it was kind of quiet, but regardless, it didn't sound like anything that I was familiar with. So I'm going to let you guys take a listen into it and tell me if you're hearing anything that I'm not, because I know that some of you guys... No, scratch that. Most of you guys are smarter than me. I need to get this out of the way now because I really want to say it, but I really don't want to overshadow the beauty of this song. It sounds kind of just like music that would play when a cartoon character dies before they kind of, revive them in the next episode. But if you move on past that small detail, this song was basically hyped up to be the most depressing one in the whole game, once everyone came to grips with what this Twitter post was talking about. And by God, did it deliver. I can't have happy thoughts when I listen to this, because of the obvious hanging elephant in the room. I also can't have happy thoughts outside of being happy that this song exists and is a banger. I just can't stop staring at the remains of these poor bastards. Sinning and going to hell is sad, all of humanity being taken over by hell is sad, and everlasting war against opposing forces is sad. But suicide? That's one branch of the tree of violence that is so upsetting, so antithetical to the point of living that it having its own layer in hell should kind of speak for itself. Up until this moment, I didn't really have a good way to describe how this specific portion sounds, but to me, when the low clarinets hit for the first time and then it kind of finishes its little stanza, the bell tolls and all of the instruments come out almost like they were hiding behind it, waiting for it to finish its bravado before filling out the extra space that the song was missing. I didn't feel strongly about this level until having to listen to it 30,000 times and having to rewrite this portion of the script multiple times, but I think I've finally come to grips with something. I think what makes this song and this entire portrayal of death so somber is how personal all of it is. In a machine versus machine battle, or even a man versus man battle, or man versus hell battle, it is catastrophic. It is a tragedy, but eventually it's all going to become a statistic. It all becomes a history lesson, and eventually the impact of ongoing conflict gets diminished as time passes. With suicide, every case is personal. It's personal to the victim. It's personal to those close to them. And one may go their entire lives never really being able to live down or fully kind of come to terms or forget the day that the news was broken to them. The bell tolling for those who have done incomprehensible things to themselves really strikes a chord in a way that most other music in any soundtrack can't. To say that this song is my favorite would simply be a lie, but I cannot argue the level of power this song holds over people. And the simple fact that I had to give a content warning, and the simple fact that I had to have somebody reread over my script about suicide to make sure I wasn't being offensive, should prove that time and time again. But hey, if you're here for the funny content that I do, fun fact, once you pick up the Chaos Emerald, the music gets slower and it also gets pitched down. This doesn't really have any relevance. I would assume it probably just exists so you know when you're marked for death, but in a video about ULTRAKILLS music, I know a bunch of people were going to point it out if I didn't do it first, so heh, I beat you to it. Second fun fact, this level's name is likely a reference to a song of the same name, I'm Coming to the Garden, No Sound, No Memory, or something, in which you can hear these really fucking annoying screeching sounds. And I tried giving this song the benefit of the doubt. I tried Googling the origins behind the song, and unfortunately, I couldn't really find anything, besides the fact that the composer loves making music by rubbing a sensitive microphone against household objects, which I'm ethically opposed to. And now I don't want to give it the benefit of the doubt because I fucking hate it. The poem inspired by the Dance of Death was meant to be a warning for those who engaged in sinful behavior and those who took too much pride in their earthly possessions, be it physical or otherwise. Death does not discriminate, and no matter how much you think you can metaphorically outrun it, you will learn in due time. I don't exactly know what the importance is of the dance itself, unless it's mostly meant as a vehicle to prove the above point, that no matter what, Death will inevitably bring his fiddle to your gravesite, he will play it, and you will be forced to dance with him. Sounds kinda groovy. I think one of the most obvious things that I notice in this song is that the fiddle being played sounds an awful lot like the exact same violin that's being used in Gabriel's theme in 6-2. I'm almost certain they're using the same instrument, and there might be some lore significance to that, with Death playing a fiddle and the fiddle sounding like Gabriel's theme fiddle, if you know what I'm saying. My lack of commentary on this song is not meant to disparage how good it actually is. I think my brain has just run out of steam, and somehow even after like 65 re-listens, my thoughts on the song have remained kind of hollow. And so while I feel a lot, I don't really have the vocabulary to explain any of it. But luckily I have this one right behind me who can do that for me.
Hello. You know, since Dylan's just going to be out here and explain the intricacies of the songs, I'm just going to go crazy on how these tracks make me feel and stuff. Because I can't do that whole, music theory thing. So I'm just going to do my own thing. So buckle up, folks. This might be, a bit of a longer one. So strap right in. But before we get into that, I need to dump some lore onto you. I need an info dump, per se. I need to get that info dump ready. So be prepared. ULTRAKILLS' general setting is based on the Divine Comedy, specifically Dante's Inferno, right? In violence, like the violence layer of Dante's Inferno, there are 3 circles: the violence against others, violence against the self, and violence against God. The theme for No Sound, No Memory, aka 7-3, is based around the second circle, violence against the self. The second circle will be dedicated to those who committed harm against themselves, like committing suicide, and other general forms of self-harm. The trees in 7-3, the ones that you see looking for the 8 pages, right? Those ones are what sinners turn into. It's like the punishment for sinners who have committed violence against the self. They kind of just turn into trees, and like plucking a branch or something off them is like the equivalent of ripping off an arm. And they'll continue to feel that eternal pain and torment. Okay, well, now that I've got my little lore dump out of the way, we can finally get on to what I think about this level. I'm glad that Dylan mentioned the Slender Man thing. Also, I did too, but that's another point. And yeah, entering 7-3 just screamed, oh my god, no, 8 pages, oh fuck, oh god, Anyway, I'm at least glad I wasn't jump scared more than like 1 time. So, huzzah. It's initially extremely quiet, except for the, screaming of the trees. The music doesn't really quite kick in until you feed it. And by it, I mean the absolutely terrifyingly beautiful tree that you just watered in blood. Isn't that just wonderful? The aforementioned possible yokai, it just immediately sets the tone for the level, all at once, but also the music. A track that's somber, beautiful, disturbing, and unsettling all at once. It's just wrapped in a, I don't know, a thing. I don't know how Hakita manages to do that, but he does. He just does it. Can I just say that the name for this track, Suffering Leaves, is just such a good title. Like, it just strikes the exact chord for the rest of the level's theme. Like, with the imagery of the sinner turned trees and their eternal torment, with the second third of the song kind of sounding like a classic RuneScape track. With that notwithstanding, though, the various string instruments and drawn-out notes just leave me with that, what the hell have I gotten myself into sort of feeling. This time with the impact hitting almost harder. Our previous level, 7-2, here the Siren song Call of Death, was about war. It being a war, trench warfare, all that stuff. But this feels like a much closer thing. The war of the self, right? This is a much more personal war, and I think that's probably why it just hits a little bit harder. Because this is a very personal war. You just feel it. You just really do feel it. But we're out here for blood, literally. So we don't have time to dwell on that existential thing. So let's just carry on through. In all honesty though, the teaser back in maybe October with a part of the song and just the red tree really just set the tone for Violence for me. I got so excited, but that's besides the point. And I think just 7-3 is just no exception for that. The second half of the song, almost acting as a crescendo to this part of the level, you hear what could be described as either the sound of gunfire or creaking wood. And I personally lean much more towards the theory of it being the creaking of wood, rather than the gunfire for a couple of reasons, at least symbolically, because the level just feels way too quiet for it to be mortar rounds or anti-artillery just going over your head. And I guess secondly, it just makes so much more sense, right? It just makes sense. I'm Todd Howard, it just works, right? Sound could represent someone who took their own life, what they hear for the last time, or someone who ended up discovering it. The floorboards or door just creaking, that would be deafeningly loud for that one last time you hear it. The bell tolling at the end just kind of solidifies it for me. It's about those who committed suicide and created the forest around you. Suffering Leaves, ultimately, is a ballad to those who have lost their own personal battle, and the suffering only wanting to be forgotten about and left alone. On a more serious note, if you are suffering with the thoughts of self-harm or suicide, please reach out to a professional or the National Suicide Hotline, 988 in the US, or various other ones on screen here if you're in a different country. There are people you can talk to. Things will get better, I promise you. There are people who you can talk to. Even though you might deny it, there are people out there who are genuinely willing to help you. Reach out to a friend, check in on them, make sure they're okay. Talk to the right people, please. Now, I don't know a good way to transition from that to this, but this level, like through the rest of Violence except for 7-4, has 2 songs, right? And the 2 songs for this level probably have the best transition in the entire game. Just straight up. But it certainly has been way too quiet for this part of the level. This tunnel right here, it's a little too dark. I don't know, a little sus, even though the whole level's dark. I feel sus, right? Surely there's not anything here, right? Right? There can't be. Aha! I knew it was too quiet for a reason. Those meddling blood machines. Let me just start off by saying this is the most absolute fucking crazy transition I think ever. These 2 songs play in my Spotify side by side, and I won't know until the transition actually hits. It's just that good. The possible nods to Altars of Apostasy in Suffering Leaves, the possible nods here, the Death of God's Will in Danse Macabre. The Dance of Death has never sounded so beautiful up to this point. The continuing motif of the double bass helps to replicate the chaos being shown on screen, and thematically, the warfare of violence as well, just like in 7-2's main theme, except it isn't throughout the whole theme and only in parts. What else can I say other than that this track is absolutely perfect for this level? Even if I see myself struggling with words that come up to actually help, this whole level left me totally speechless. The theming, the music, the best arenas in the entire game, and I will die on this hill. All of it. Completely speechless. Hats off, really. I feel like it's honestly hard to make me quite like this, considering I just don't shut up, but this level does it. Again, I think I've said it before, and I really do wish some of these levels were longer, so that these themes could have a chance to just spread their wings just a little bit more. Even while I'm doing a peering attempt, they really do deserve the time in the sun. Music aside, though, I just want to talk about the arenas and the level approach just a little bit here. Each major arena has a tree that you've got to, I guess we can call it watering, right? We got to water the tree, and the other enemies you have to deal with as well. This is only amplified by like 1,000, but you get to see all the machines infighting with the other demons and husks and all that, and not killing you, unless you did the challenge. If so, God bless. All this chaos and Suffering Leaves just isn't enough to keep up, so the track switches in an explosion, the tunnel, of strings and drums and that sweet, sweet guitar. Oh my god, it's invigorating. I want more. You feel the bloodlust of a blood-fueled, silly little D robot, if only for a moment. And to be honest, the massive difficulty spike from the first set of arenas to the final set is mitigated just a little by the pure rush of adrenaline when you're suddenly fighting for your life and being overstimulated by all the chaos and carnage that's going around you. The final area, what a way to finish off the level. You're fighting at least half of the enemies in this level in this one massive dog pile of bloodshed. This is my favorite fight in all of ULTRAKILL. Forget Sisyphus, forget P2, all that. This one arena feels like Cybergrind perfected. This is why I ask for longer levels, so that I can ride this high of peak arena design for just a little longer. Finishing this arena and this level, I feel like I now understand V1's design intentions in the lore. I truly, truly feel ready to take on what it's designed to conquer.
Man's greatest accomplishment and desire to commit the unthinkable, manifested and in the flesh right here in front of me, and the best Hakita could do is a fucking EAS alarm system and breakcore drums? Of course I'm joking. I love the musicification of the Industrial Revolution. Forget man versus machine, this is machine versus machine squared. V1 is literally a byproduct of man's most destructive habits, and yet somehow it's my responsibility to take on the final boss of man's war against itself. Yes, I know some people are probably going to bring up V1 being designed to counter the fucking Earth Mover. I don't want to hear any of it because it's not proven and it's been done to death. The bass at the beginning is just so heavy that it represents the literal earth-shaking presence of this thing. Wait, hold on. Earth-moving presence of this thing. The drums and the actual alarm itself are insanely repetitive, much in the same way war has been and will always be. In some stupid, weird meta way that doesn't make any sense, it feels like more thought was put into making a track to reflect the meaningless cycle of war than man did when actually participating in said war. The bass of this song is about to literally shake my goddamn headphones off, and so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna hook this yellow hook point, it's gonna pull out these platforms, it's gonna turn off the alarms, and it's gonna pull out this piano. And the piano, to me, kind of sounds like it's meant to reflect the traumatic and depressing aspects of war, especially one that's been going on for this long. I mean, could you, like, imagine how the people who used to live on this damn thing must have felt while all of this was going down? If I listen into anything but the actual piano, I can kind of hear these repeating violin notes in the background that definitely are following the same motif as The World Looks Red. But before you can take too long to actually listen to all of that and kind of take in everything that's been building up to this point, the game throws you for a loop by making you fight this stupid little podium that shoots explosives at you, known as the defense system. And the sound selection really brings your fight with this thing over the top. While it no longer maintains the gloomy elements of constant conflict, it is still leaving a ton of weight on your shoulders, once again being responsible for taking down the creation that was intended to end the bloodiest battle in history, which, as we all know, actually instead continued the bloodiest battle in all of history. I was quick to jump at their throats when I first heard the dramatic low choir in the background, going, is it really that dramatic? It's just a defense system. But clearly I hadn't actually read my own notes to signify just how important these kinds of additions are to a track of this scale. A machine built on to take even the strongest forces of heaven and hell certainly deserves some heavenly, albeit sinister choir to amplify that point. The powerful ending chord once you've defeated this thing would normally lead me to believe that the Earth Mover has finally been defeated, but that wouldn't really be much of a boss fight now, would it? I can still see his health bar up there, and now I'm hearing more sirens, and somehow he turned those sirens into more music. I am definitely not the first to be of the opinion that this is not the kind of boss fight that I was expecting. I'll admit it feels a little bit anticlimactic, but the build up to it makes up for it in my opinion. Having the boss and the level be the same entity is something that I had been hoping for since fighting the Leviathan. Fighting the brain itself can both be mind-numbing and incredibly satisfying. It just depends on how good I decide to be at the game at that given day. I can't really describe anything lore significant about this portion of the track. If there's one thing I needed this layer though, it is a fucking ignorantly good song. One of those songs that makes you stank face. One of those songs that gives you chills because the drop is just so satisfying. All of the sounds in this portion are incredibly bit crunchy, and while it doesn't really serve any greater purpose, I think they sound fucking awesome. You defeat the brain of this whole operation, and the game still doesn't let you off the hook. You've got a few more husks, and machines, and guttermen, and gutter tanks to defeat before you've officially left your mark on this layer, and they pull the classic and give the guitarist the fucking solo he deserves. That was cool and all. So we took this one down, but look at how many more are out there. Do you know how much of an impact we really could have possibly made here? Alright, so there are some additional things that I wanted to make some comments on in this video because I think they're important. I just didn't really have a place to smoothly insert them into any particular section. This layer utilized more time signature changes than I think any other level or any other layer in the majority of the game up to that point, with 3-4, 4-4, 5-4, 6-4, 7-4, maybe 11-4 and 12-4 being used here. The last time I heard that many time signatures, I was fighting my first Prime Sanctum and I died like 80 times. That said, I'm not mad about that. I quite enjoy the time signature changes because they've allowed me to better understand music that had always felt kind of off, but in a way that I couldn't ever really figure out as to why. Risk of Rain 2. I really appreciate the fact that on top of every level having a calm and a combat version of the same song, they also basically gave us an entirely new ambient track that only gets used for the first portion of every level, minus 7-4 obviously. It really hit me when I took a step back and realized just how many tracks were in one layer. It was pretty refreshing to have these songs that took equal amounts of care to create, even though they're basically just introductions into the level that you'll be facing. I love the fact that the game doesn't immediately hit you with the high octane track the second you start fighting, and they'll instead keep you on your toes by playing the same lower octane track even while you're fighting, and it does wonders for building up tension for when the energy actually ramps up. I obligatorily have to add a third comment here, so I'm just going to use this space to request any new viewers who have never played this game to please buy it, or go get the demo and give it a shot. It's an incredible game, and you can get it for like, I don't know, 25 bucks right now, or maybe 30 if you see this in like a year from now when the full game is technically released. Whatever. I'm not exaggerating to you when I say that I found 3 more points in between when I recorded the original overdub and right now, and so I have 3 more things before I hand it off to Kirby. If I'm not mistaken, in the ULTRAKILL wiki it actually specifies that Hikita would not go back and redo some of the music for the prelude for, layer 0 because he feels like it would be overproduced. And after actually comparing what I'm seeing in layer 0 to what I'm seeing in layer 7, I definitely understand exactly what he's talking about. I mean, you can basically look at anything after like layer 2 or 3 and you can see like a massive difference, and I really just want to give props to him for how much he's grown as like a composer and as a producer and just like an overall artist, because it's very fucking impressive. As some of you may have noticed, I have been doing some interviews with some people in the ULTRAKILL community, Marzuku, West Axel, Mediocrity, and because I have them right there, I'm just like, hey, what's your favorite song in layer 7? And these are the details that they gave me about it. West Axel said that he really likes 7-4. Mediocrity said he also really likes 7-4. I DM'd you about this a few days ago. and I am
Right.
and I'm now bringing it up to you again because this is going to go in the video because people care about the opinions of other people from what I've heard. What is your favorite song from Layer 7 and why?
Okay, wait. I need to. Oh, okay. So when I listen to a song, the environment in which you hear the song is really important. And when you hear 7-4 with a giant war giraffe pointing at you and about to shoot you, and like the entire atmosphere of the drums and the fucking like when you hear that all build up, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just it's so good, and I love it so much.
Marzuko has some very polarized opinions about how Layer 7 is from a music perspective, and I don't knock him for it. I realized that between then and now, I don't even think Ultrakill Layer 7 Violence was out when we were first talking about this. So since it's been a little bit more time, I'm curious, just like, what's your favorite track from the Layer, and what do you like so much about it?
The music was okay. I think it could have been better. The music as well, from a composer's standpoint, is also pretty like well made, but like the instrumentation could have been better. I just think that the music wasn't emotional enough.
I think when I was describing 7-2 and I was describing how fucking scary the first song is, I think what I've finally come to realize is that as you've progressed through Ultrakill, the music has become more like demented and twisted. It's still very musical, but it still feels very like Uncanny Valley sort of, and very twisted and demented for just how like fucked up everything has become and how fucked up everything is currently down in hell. And the music really starts to take that crazy turn for me once you start in Layer 7 and how uneasy everything makes you feel. And the actual last thing, completely unrelated to the specifics of this layer, but what I think I have finally realized is that Ultrakill's music as a whole is very interesting, because while you think you're playing as the good guy, while I've made it clear that it seems like you're playing as the good guy, it's pretty obvious that Gabriel is kind of meant to be portrayed as the protagonist and you, V1, as the antagonist. Honestly, I think that cognitive dissonance really works in favor of the music, because so many of the songs in this game have this sort of emotion and feeling of hope, and this feeling that things may all work out in the end. The framing of it when painted in that light could go either way. You as the player may feel some sort of hope and joy of being able to finally succeed in your mission, with the music amplifying that point. But who's to say that this musical push for a feeling of victory is even designed for you? What if the happy chords at the end of War are not designed to make you feel like you can win, but are designed to reflect that Sisyphus feels like he could win? Obviously not, because he still recognizes that his whole mission was doomed to fail, but regardless. What if that feeling of hope that you hear in Altars of Apostasy was not meant to give you hope that you can take down all of hell, but meant to give hope that Gabriel might be able to protect all that he has left? Regardless of who is objectively the true protagonist here, the music surprisingly works in both directions, and it really brings this soundtrack to life when you start looking at it from that kind of weird angle. Anywho, I've done plenty of rambling here, so I'm going to pass this off to Kirby for one final hurrah before we do our whole song and dance and finish this thing up. So, go Kirby, go!
Hello. Burbo. I'm here, once again. I'm gonna shamelessly plug. If you all like to see more personal take on the rest of the levels, maybe Ultrakill as a whole, I would like to know in the comments. Please give me a little feedback. It's been a whole lot of fun writing all this stuff, and recording it can be fun too. I feel like I would like to do some sort of review of Ultrakill at some point here soon. I don't know when. Maybe by the time Act 3 fully drops. That might take a while, but I don't know. This game has just struck me in just such a right way that I think it would be a disservice not to give something to the community, right? Like, give something more, at least personally, for myself, right? If you want to see that, just drop a comment, give me some feedback. I want to know what you all think of that, as I'm here to steal part of the video. Honestly, I think after doing all of the co-research for this video, like just helping Dylan do all the research for this video, all that stuff, like just helping analyze it all, right, and put our thoughts to words, these tracks are just growing on me so much more, especially 7-2. 7-2 is really good to me now. Because I didn't really like 7-2, but having to just sit down and listen to the music, it just makes me appreciate it a little more, especially with Mr. Honkshoe in the tower. That's okay. On another note, buy the game. Please just buy the game. It's like the best $25 you'll ever spend, and I spent $25 on Minecraft, for God's sake. This game also goes on sale for cheap sometimes, and it's so worth it. Just put it on your wish list, let it go on sale. Just go buy it. DevilMayQuake.com, baby. Go. Also, can I just say, wow. The script is about 11 full pages, and on 8 whole songs. Oh man, you guys are spoiled. I'm telling you. You guys are freaking spoiled, but that's what we're here for, right? Thank y'all for letting us ramble on for this long. I'll see y'all later. Go follow my Twitch, go follow it, go follow, go.
The soundtrack of Layer 7 is beautiful and contains some of the most aggressive notes in the entire game, because you've officially hit that point where it's not sunshine and rainbows anymore. It's not some silly robot game anymore. This game is now making references to full-on murder, suicide, betrayal, and the loss of oneself, plus maybe some other stuff. While it was significantly harder to write up the analysis for the music of this layer because a lot of it contains much more complex motifs and emotions throughout, I'm perfectly fine with that, because it helps continue the trend that I mentioned in the last analysis video of the music getting more complex as you traverse deeper into hell. While I know it's going to be tiring to have to talk about all of Layer 8 and all of Layer 9 and all of the secrets and the newly added shit into Layer 7, plus the secret levels and the Prime Sanctum, I'm more than up for the challenge because it's going to give me a better appreciation for the work being done here. Also, like Kirby mentioned above, this is like 11 pages and might teeter on a 12th after I have to say everything I have to say. So could you imagine how fucking long doing all of Layer 8, 9, and all the extra stuff is going to be? Good lord, this is going to be nuts. Overall, I'm going to give this soundtrack a 9 out of 10, even though that number doesn't really mean anything because it's not like you guys were coming here looking for a direct ranking of all of it. I would give it a 10, but Bull of Hell brought it down to a 9.5 because I don't particularly want to listen to it, but it's at least a very good portrayal of the feelings of the bull, and the inclusion of the bull in this level is fucking awesome. And then another half point gets ticked off because I had to listen to this embodiment of overstimulation more than once. I was genuinely concerned that these songs weren't going to hit as hard as all of the music from the previous 2 layers. I know part of it was because I had plenty of time to marinate with those songs and build some kind of history and make my most infamous YouTube video on these songs, and the idea of having new music to ingest from one of my favorite games was actually a little bit intimidating, but Hakita hit the nail on the head every single time. This music kind of changed my perception of what video game music could actually be, which definitely sounds dramatic, but keep in mind that I've never really played or delved into the classical compositions of a Final Fantasy or anything like that, but maybe this is the gateway that I needed to get into those more complex compositions. For now, I'm just going to keep marinating on these songs, and I'll kind of let you know how I feel about Layer 8 and 9 once they actually fully release. And in the meantime, I want you guys to tell me what your favorite songs are from just this layer. Tell me why you love them so much, and maybe if you hated any of them, tell me what you hated about them. And lastly, I want you guys to help me speculate what you think are going to be staples of Layer 8 and 9, as well as its music. We've got plenty of time to think on this, so get going, pop off in the comments section, and let's see if any of you are right whenever the final chapter is released. To anybody who made it this far, I do appreciate you for watching the whole video. On one hand, I know people love their longer video essays, even though this isn't super long. On the other hand, I also know that attention span is fleeting, but we're not going to get into that. So anybody who's still here, I appreciate the hell out of you for watching this. The crazy thing is that this is probably, 75% the length of my original music analysis video, and it's on 1 layer? Are you kidding me? Like, that has to say something about how insane this fucking music is. And I appreciate y'all for coming along with me as I kind of explore all of it. Honestly, I want to hear what other people's thoughts are on the music. I want to hear what you guys kind of could get out of it, what motifs you could hear, what kinds of vibes it sorted with you, because I know that this was meant to be more lore appropriate music rather than it just sounding bitchin' for the purposes of sounding bitchin'. So that means that sometimes there's a lot to extrapolate upon, and I only have so much time, and I am only one person, so I don't always have the ability to get everything right on the first try. So I'm just curious to see what you guys think about it. Thank you to Kirby for co-opting this and giving some of her thoughts and opinions on this, because, if there's one thing that I appreciate, it's any of my ULTRAKILL friends making content with me. So if you want to see them more in future videos, please absolutely show them some love in the comments, and they'll definitely come back because they have about as much brain rot for this game as I do. I've only got a few more things. We have a community Discord, the Nothing Is Anything community Discord. You can find it in the description via the link tree that I have. Me even having a link tree is a bit of an announcement itself, and in that announcement page you'll find everything you need, from the team's socials to the Nothing Is Anything community Discord server, my second channel, Twitch, fucking music on Spotify, the podcast that I run, all of that stuff, including, but not limited to, a Patreon. I know Patreon is a bit of a thing that people are trying to get into. Why did I say that like that's like a new invention? No, it's just new for me. I haven't been using it maybe ever. So Patreon's in the description. If you want to, you can click on that, you can support me, you can read it, I'd appreciate the hell out of it. It's not necessary, it's more just if you want to. You know, with that in mind, actually, if any of you have any particular feelings on how a Patreon should be run and you see mine and you decide this guy's a fucking idiot, absolutely you can tell me that as well, because I would like to actually make a Patreon that's worth it for people to come to subscribe to, because, you know, that's the whole point of it. So go off, pop off in the comments once again, and I'm gonna go drink some tea or something, because, yeah, dude, my voice is really fucking killing me.
The video is over. Go away. Go on. Get out of here. What do you think, there's more video? Oh, what, because you can see it in the little seek bar? You just assume there's more content to extrapolate here? Well, there isn't. Tell you what. Go ahead, if you really want more content so bad, you pig. Go ahead and subscribe then. That's the way to see more of it. Now goodbye. I'm off to suck Minos' cock.
Oink oink.
Oink!